Hello everybody, it's James. I'm going to be doing a review slash tutorial type deal with Kerbal Space Program demo. This game has been out for a little bit. It's very fun. As soon as I started playing this, I haven't really stopped playing it. So I want to go over things you should know, especially if you're going to play the demo, because there's a few things that I didn't know at first. So let's go ahead and go. In the full game right here, you'll be able to play spaceships, or make spaceships and then fly them. Here's where you actually build your rocket. This is where you launch your rocket, and this is a satellite to show if you have other rockets up in space, satellites, whatever. But in the demo, you can't do any of the satellites or anything. So you click on there, and now you're inside. So this is going to give you an idea of exactly how to build your rocket to get your guy into space. Okay, you always have to start off with your pod, and you always have to build onto the pod. So you need to remember that, because you can't just build parts on the side and attach them like this. See, like, watch, I can't attach these. Right? So it always has to be part of the pod, which I don't really like that, because it makes things a lot more difficult later when you have the full spaceship put together, or the rocket put together. So you just have to kind of deal with it. All right? But this tutorial is going to help you see where you can keep that from happening. Things you can do to keep it from you having to take things apart and everything else. Okay, so the pod doesn't get covered up. Let me say that first, because when I started playing this, when you do stuff like this, so if I put this here and then I put this under here, we'll see how that covers it. Okay, so I thought, well, I got to put something on this to cover this up, but you don't, because it's the top of the rocket and it doesn't cover it. I mean, you can put this on there, but that doesn't do anything. Okay, the fact is you have to put a parachute on there, which is right here in the parachute. You stick it on top, so when he comes back down, he doesn't die, crash. Which I have put him in space and made him fall to the earth, and it's pretty funny. Anyway, as moving on, let me get rid of this. Okay, so you could do things like adding landing struts, things like this. The only thing with the demo is you can get to the moon, but you cannot pretty much land, because the fuel tank that you need isn't this size. They don't have the proper fuel tank in the demo for you to actually use the landing gear, because the landing gear goes on the sides of this thing. See that? And you hit N and to make it drop whenever you're when it's coming down. So as you can see, the landing gear is just not long enough for this fuel tank. Okay, so the mission that I'm going to be trying to do is getting to the moon. It's going to be a one-way trip. Oh well, I just want to get to the moon. Okay, so let me continue here, because this takes a while to do and I don't have a lot of time. This is going to be probably a 30-minute video. Okay, you have stack decouplers. Okay, these are the things that you'll be using in the stages, which are over here on the right, to make it disassemble as it's flying, because you can't just use one rocket and fly up into space. It's just not how it works. Even in real life, they use stages, and that's the whole point of the stage decouplers, is because you can have multiple stages to get you into space, and they are separated by these. They explode, making them disconnect. Okay, so I always put one under here first, because you're going to eventually have to disconnect this. Okay. We're going to make a very simple one. So you're going to want to put in the SAS module and the other SAS module, which these both deal with the rotation and the direction of the rocket while it's flying. Okay, and you'll see how they come into play. Okay, and I put them underneath because in order for this thing to land correctly, you can't have it underneath it. Okay, let's see. What do we do? Okay, we'll just go to this next then, which will be there's a coupler. Okay, your coupler is a tri-coupler. Means three, obviously. Tri being three. Gives you the ability to put multiple rows of rockets on the one thing, but you can, if you want to, do a single one and add tubes around it. See here? So you're not really limited just by the coupler. Okay, and they will stay on. Okay, you just got to make sure that they're on there correctly, otherwise they will fall off. There's also these radial decouplers, okay, what you could put on the outside for extra stages. See how it's on there now? So what I can do is I can have this fly up and then use these to push it up while these three in the middle don't get used. Deactivate this will fall off, and then make the three in the middle go, and then it'll keep pushing it. Okay, that's what the this decoupler does. Okay, next we will just go ahead and start building this thing. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna make this too extravagant. Okay, so the one thing that I learned that I was doing wrong in the beginning of this, because I did it for a while, and I actually got into space before using this, even hard as hell, but there's these solid fuel boosters. They burn fuel so fast, they might have an engine power that's pretty decent, but they burn fuel so fast it doesn't make a difference. I had to make really extravagant architectural rockets just to get them into space with these damn things, and then now I've figured out you can use a liquid fuel engines instead, which burn fuel very slowly, and these only have a little bit less power than the boosters do. So you will always get into space with these as long as you build enough rockets out of it. Okay. So let's go to the decoupler. That's another thing with these decouplers. Always put them on the rockets. Never put them on the base. So if you have like a setup like this, let me show you. Come on. That's the other thing. They need to really start tweaking this stuff, because this will fit eventually, but I had to sit there and play with it for a while to get it to get on there. Here, I'll just do this. Yep, still being a pain in the ass. Come on, dude. There, see? Now it's on there. Not exactly correctly. There we go. So I'm not exactly sure. I guess that the game doesn't want to put it on there because it's not supposed to fit, but it ends up fitting anyway. It's a glitch. I don't really know, but it's just the way it is. See there, now it's fixed. So if you have something like this, don't take this and stick it on here. See how you could stick it on the base? Don't do that. Okay. What ends up happening is that for some reason the couplers don't end up working and they don't detach and things like that. Always just put them on the bottom of the rockets and then attach everything to that instead. Okay, that's what I found is to be the best way to doing this, and it'll save you a lot of problems later. Trust me. Let me get this on there. Okay, so now we have a tri-top of the rocket. Okay, which will get us pretty far up into space. And now what I can do on the bottom is I can continue to do 3 more. I could do 1 more and then a whole bunch around the one or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a coupler upside down. And you want to try to make sure everything's symmetrical. So you don't want this to be like, oops. You don't want it to be like that, okay? Because it goes against the whole flow of the ship. And it's based on real life physics. So in real life, you wouldn't make things all awkward and unbalanced and things like that. Anyway, okay. So bring this up. Okay, here we go. So this time, we're gonna have long ones. Okay. Let's see. We're going to double stack. Now, the more you stack, the more fuel you have, obviously, the longer they can burn. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding tanks to the side for this. Because I want a lot of power for this thing to get out of the off the Earth. After you play this for a while, you'll see why it's so fun. You just get addicted, to the whole building aspect, using your brain to come up with unique architectural rockets that get your little guy into space. Now the full version I read is going to have 7 more planets and all kinds of stuff. You're going to be able to colonize, send fueling stations into space, all kinds of stuff. I really want to get it myself, actually. And I will when I can. To be honest, this game is very, very fun. I'm going to put my rockets all up here. Now remember too, when you want to use these rockets, these specific ones, you have to have the throttle all the way up when you get them to go. The boosters, these fuel boosters, they automatically do it no matter how much throttle you have or not. They just burn whatever's in the thing. Whereas these, you can control the amount of thrust that they are putting out, okay, which can be very, very helpful in certain situations. Okay. I always cap these for aerodynamics sakes. I'm not sure if it really affects it too much in the game, but you know, I just like to go by the way physics work. You know, less drag. Okay, so these are all attached straight to the tubes to each other. Okay. Here are the strut connectors. Strut connectors in this game are the rich man's duct tape, is how I call it, because they hold things together that otherwise might shake apart, things like that. So what you can do is things like this, where you can stick them to each other from one rocket to another. That way, when they're in flight, they don't wobble all over the place, and they don't start spreading out and trying to do their own thing, which they will do. Especially if you have like a wider 3 connection where they aren't really close together, things like that. So I'm just going to go around and attach these, just to make sure that they don't wobble and be all crazy and stuff when I'm flying them. Building a really good ship, at least a big one, or a rocket, it can take a very, very long time. So if you're going to play this game, make sure you have quite a few hours to spend on it, because otherwise you're going to be in the middle of something, have to leave, and get pretty frustrated, because you have to come back later and finish it. I know I do. I've spent 17 hours on this thing the first time I started playing it, just because how fun it is to build these things. The more fins you have on here, the more stable it is, but as long as you keep it in proportions. Just like in real life, if you have fins that are in awkward positions, they will be a hindrance instead of a help to your rocket. Alright, like that would not be good. I mean, with all the other fins I have on here, it's not going to make a humongous difference for them wanting to be out of place. But, oh, that doesn't look right at all, did it? So it's good to just go around every now and... Yep, see right there. That's so dumb. Oop, back on there. Alright. So this looks pretty nice. I'm going to put some more up here. I'm a fin freak when it comes to these things, because I've made some pretty big structures, and the fins allowed me to get them into space. You can either manually fly these things, or you can let the computer do it, which is what I do, which is what these SAS modules are for. If you don't have them on there, they will not control the fins, because there's nothing to control the fins, since there's no module to tell the fins what to do when they're controlling it from the inside of the spaceship. Here's your launch stabilizers for when before it takes off. What I found with these is that it's not exactly realistic when it comes to holding this thing in place. You really don't need a lot to hold it in place, in all reality. You just want to get the major ones figured in the right spots, that way it stays up. Always be aware when you're putting these up that at below, if it is touching anything like a fin or something like that and you try to take off, it will blow up. Okay, see right here how it's close. Okay, it's close, which is fine as long as this thing goes straight. If it deters left or right, it's going to hit this beam and it's going to blow up the rocket. Okay, so you need to watch where these are being placed just because of that. If you know the rocket might deter a little bit, then just keep them away from your fins or whatever have you. Okay. Okay, here's the stages now. Okay. So now we have to deal with the stages. First stage is obviously going to be these going off. Okay, so we have to make sure we have all the rockets that are going to go off, which is right there, obviously. These are the placeholders, the stability launchers, the launch stability enhancers, whatever they call it. So we'll put those above the main thrusters, because what you're going to do is you're going to thrust, then make them detach, and then the thrust will take off. You want to have some kind of lift before you let go of the rocket. Obviously, if you don't, it's just going to fall to the ground and blow the hell up. Okay. So again, let's see, these three, and then these three rockets will go off. So you want to keep these together because you want it to be a simultaneous action. Coupler goes off, rockets boost up, takes off. Okay. This is a very simple rocket, and we'll get into the orbit. Okay, I'm going to show you guys that right now. So we're going to save this. This all looks to be a green, and we're going to go ahead and go to launch pad. I'm going to clear and proceed. Okay, this is a geometry meter, I do believe, because it shows the middle of where the spacecraft is. And there's like a little yellow thing to show when it's moving around. Okay, R and T will bring up your RCS and your SAS. SAS is the main fins. As you see, if I turn it off, the fins stop moving. Turn it back on, the fins are moving, because the pilot's trying to keep the damn thing straight. Okay, RCS is for if you use the little thrusters on the pod itself, which I can show after this is done. And then throttle. Throttle is shift and control. Control goes down, shift goes up. I use left shift. Okay, I'm going to have max throttle because when we take off, I want it to go as high and fast as it can. Okay, you can zoom out, you can bring this down. Okay, so here we go. Space bar ignites it. I'm going to let it get a little bit of lift first, and now I'm going to let it go. Okay, now you can see the fins are doing good. It's got a lot of thrust, which is why you can see that this top area is kind of leaning to the right a little bit, because these are pushing super hard because of the amount of rockets I put underneath it. Okay, and that's why these are a lot better. See how slow over here, how the liquid's burning down so slow? This gives it so much time for it to get up into the atmosphere. And as you can see here, up here on the top, there's the atmosphere reader. Once you're in the black, that's obviously space. We're probably going to get up into here. Let's see how much speed we have. So I'll probably get up and around here before these need to be released. And then this will take me the rest. Because once you get up higher into the atmosphere, there's less resistance, less air, and the amount of thrust that you get is a lot more. Oh, wow. I have no idea why I did that. Okay, I know what to do. So this is what's great about the flights, is that you can, when you see a problem or something, you can fix it pretty fast, pretty easily. When in the flight, kind of glad this happened because I could show this. You go to vehicle assembly building, back to the normal thing. Okay, when you're going to go reassemble stuff or fix stuff, you always want to take these off, the struts, because if you don't, when you try to put them back on and things like that, they actually get in the way. If it's in the way of something, it's not going to let you do it. So I always suggest to take these off before you fix something. Okay, I'm not doing that because my fix isn't like that. Okay, I'm going to use the poor man's or the rich man's duct tape again. So you can add these and make them touch the top of these. Now they will come off when the charges blow. Okay, so don't worry about them holding it together and then it doesn't come apart like it's supposed to in the stage properly. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do it there and there. Okay, this is gonna stop it from that leaning action that it was doing earlier, which is why I think it spun out of control the way it did. But that's my guess. Alright, and if this fixes it, then I was correct. If not, I have way too much thrust, and I could actually add another stage up here, which would actually even it out and allow it to not do that again. Okay, so now that this is stabilized, I'm going to save, I'm going to go ahead and launch, and then we're going to see. If it doesn't stabilize correctly, I'm going to stick another double, a single with a double fuel tank on top of this structure to hopefully give it the thrust enough weight so that it's not overpowering the whole damn thing again. So throttle up, get it a little bit, it really wants to go, and there we go. Okay, now you can see it's not leaning to the right at all. The struts are doing their job, they're keeping it straight, and now I'm just going to watch to see how it goes. Your little guy right here in this picture, he actually pretty much tells you if things are going bad or what for him, because he'll start screaming and stuff like that. You won't hear him, but his facial expressions are obvious. Very, very obvious. EVA means evacuate. Okay, IVA means you can go inside the cockpit of the pod by your, in first person inside of there. I never do, because then you lose this view. So far so good. I generally want to get over 10,000 to 10,000 meters before I break off the second part, because the thrust will be able, the thrust out in the next one should be able to get me up into space. If not, I could always add another stage. It's not a big deal. Yep, we're over 10,000. It looks like I'm probably going to get around 18,000. Maybe higher because we're getting higher, so the thrust is actually adding a lot more thrust because of the less air density. Yeah, don't let this fool you right here. The blue line right there, that is not the actual atmosphere. It's not the atmosphere yet. It is thinning out though. Okay, we're getting close to the next discharge. Now when you get to the next stage, we're going to hit spacebar, which will activate the next stage. But you want to be make sure you know what's going on when you do it, because depending on it, what is going on? Nah, what was the pilot doing? Okay, I guess he's going to fix it. Nope. The pilot was moving it like that. I think it was because he was going to just come right back to Earth, and I didn't want to do that. Which, if I want to do that, I turn the SAS off, and then I control it myself with W, S, A, and D. See how he's pointing the nose down now? I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm actually going to control it. Oh, come on. Huh. Well, maybe there's something wrong with the craft that I don't know about. Oh, no, there we go. I got it. Okay. There we go. Straight up in the atmosphere, dude. Now you can see I'm in space. Okay, I got up here, I made it. He's over there screaming, he's not happy with me. This thing will fall back to Earth if you don't use another push to go into Earth's orbit. Okay, you can see that I am above the Earth. And I'm just flying out into outer space right now. Eventually we'll come back down. As you can see, if you hit map, M for map, it's going to bring up and show you the trajectory of where he's going. Okay. Now if you want to hit the moon, which is way over here, they call it the mun. You can set target. It doesn't really do anything in the demo to set target for the moon for some reason. It probably does in the full version where it actually calculates it for you and things like that. But you can always come over here to the line, and you can add maneuvers. Okay, so you can change what he's going to do. the spaceship that I'm going to try and make to get to the moon isn't going to be where I think of where the moon's going to be at, because I don't know the calculations or math that I have to use to do that. Instead, I'm going to get off the Earth, get out here like where he is now, and have enough stages to just shoot straight to the moon like it's a spaceship pretty much. Hit map again. This thing's just twirling in space. Yeah, you can actually make it spin. And then I can stop making it spin. Everybody's design is going to be different as far as the rockets go. No design is really better than another in some aspects. I mean, you could pretty much get into space with anything with these rockets and the setup that I told you about. As long as you don't use the bad boosters, you're pretty much guaranteed to get into space. It's just after you're in space, that's the difference. Now, you got to remember, if you're coming into space to get to the moon or something like that, you're going to have extra stages underneath the nose, or the pod, I mean, in order for you to do things. Like, you're going to have one to boost to get there. You're going to have one to boost to turn around toward the Earth to slow your descent to the moon. Otherwise, you'll just smash into it. And then you have to have enough stuff to land your module on the moon and then get off the moon and slingshot off the moon back to Earth using its orbit as a as a slingshot, pretty much. The gravity from the orbit, anyway. This guy's going to take a long time to fall down. Let me see where we're at. 26 minutes. Alright, so you've seen the basics of the game. I only got a couple minutes left. When he gets back down to Earth, I'm going to hit this, which releases the pod. That's the next stage. The pod will be released. And you can see there's a little parachute right here. Okay, so when he falls to Earth, you want to deploy the parachute. It's not going to deploy right away because there's not enough air density to make it open up. But eventually, when it hits the right spot, it opens up automatically, and he slowly floats to the ground, and he's safe. And then you can use EVA to let him get out, and then you can walk around. You can beat him and walk around all you want, things like that. So the demo is actually really fun. I suggest anybody that likes this kind of stuff to play it, because you will get addicted fast. I think it's going to be worth the money, because I'm definitely going to buy it myself when I get the chance. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going around. Look at that. If I had another couple stages on top, like I said I could have done, I probably could have gone straight toward the moon from here, even with that little bit of engineering that I did for the architecture, which gives you an idea of how easy it is to get off the planet with the stuff they give you. The actual game gives you quadruple the amount of items that you saw me using. And they have like 7 planets, and they have satellites you can put in space, and way more lunar lander stuff, all kinds of stuff. Okay, the RCS side, I did say I was going to show you that, so let me go ahead and do that. Let me move that. Okay, so go to propulsion controls. Okay, these are our little RCS thrusters. You see them on the pod usually, because they actually are able to control the spin and stuff. They'll shoot out little streams of air. You have to either use the modified propellant tanks or the RCS fuel tank underneath it in order to get those to work. There's different thrusters here. This liquid fuel one, the smaller one's better for landing on like the moon and stuff, using the pod on its own, or boosting into space however you want, because it has a lot of thrust. And that's going to be the end of this tutorial / look at Kerbal Space Program. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and highly suggest this game. Okay. Have fun with it, guys.